Hello everyone. Welcome back to another video on my drama channel. So, I figured I'd share my thoughts about the Titanic submarine situation. It was an awful situation, a terrible tragedy. 5 people lost their lives on the submarine. It was an awful situation all around. I figured I'd read some articles talking about it. So, the 5 lives lost in the Titanic submersible. Yeah, the submersible. Yeah, the 5 lives lost in the Titanic submersible. On board the submersible were the founder of the company that operates the vessel, a British businessman and an explorer, a British father and teenage son from a prominent Pakistani family, and a French maritime expert. So 5 victims. So this is an article on the New York Times by Emma Bubola, Salman Masood, and Victoria Kim. Okay. 5 people were on board the Titanic submersible when it lost contact with support ship during a dive to the Titanic wreckage site in the North Atlantic on Sunday. On Thursday, the U.S. Coast Guard and the company that operated the submersible, Ocean Gate Expedition, said that all 5 people on board were believed to be dead. Here are the passengers who were aboard the craft. Stockton Rush. Stockton Rush was the founder and chief executive of the Ocean Gate Expeditions, the company that operated the submersible. He was piloting the vessel. In an interview that aired on CBS in November, Mr. Rush said he grew up wanting to be an astronaut, and after earning an aerospace engineering degree from Princeton in 1984, a fighter pilot. I had this epiphany that I didn't want. It wasn't about going to space, Mr. Rush said. It was about exploring. It was about finding new life forms. I wanted to be the sort of the Captain Kirk. I didn't want to be the passenger in the back. And I realized that the ocean is the universe. He founded Ocean Gate, a private company that is based in Everett, Washington, near Seattle in 2009. Okay, there's his obituary right there. Hamish Harding. Hamish Harding, a British businessman and explorer, holds several Guinness World Records, including one for the longest time spent traversing in the deepest part of the ocean on a single dive. He wrote on his Facebook page on Saturday that he was proud to announce that he had joined Ocean Gate's mission on the sub going down to the Titanic. Mr. Harding, 58, was the chairman of the Action Aviation, a sales and air operations company based in Dubai. He had previously flown to space on a mission by Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rock company. Mr. Harding also took part in an effort to reintroduce cheetahs to India and holds a world record for the fastest circumnavigation of Earth via both the geographic poles by plane. Paul Henry Nargoliet. Paul Henry Nargoliet, a French maritime expert, had been on more than 35 dives at the Titanic wreck site. Mr. Nargoliet was director of underwater research for RMS Titanic Incorporated, an American company that owns the salvage rights to the famous wreck and displays many of the artifacts of Titanic exhibitions. The company conducted 8 research and recovery expeditions between 1987 to 2010, according to his website. Shazda Dawood, and Sulman Dawood. The British-Pakistani businessman Shazda Dawood, 48, and his son Sulman, 19, were members of one of Pakistan's wealthiest families. Mr. Dawood had a background in textiles and fertilizer manufacturing. His son was a business student at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. A spokesman for the school confirmed in a statement on Thursday. Mr. Dawood and his son had embarked on a journey to visit the remnants of the Titanic when contact with the vessel was lost, the statement said, asking for privacy for the family. Mr. Dawood is also on the board of trustees for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute. The organization said that on its website that he was a resident of Britain and father of 2 children. So those are the list of the names of the victims, what their backgrounds were, before the tragedy. Yeah, pretty much explains all of that on the New York Times. And here's an article talking about the Titanic True Explorers, the 5 passengers who died on the missing Titanic submersible, by Kala Jimenez on USA Today. 5 men, including 1 teenager, have been declared dead after days after they left for a voyage in a 22-foot submersible to see the wreckage of the Titanic in the North Atlantic Ocean. Ocean Gate, the company that hosted the mission on the Titanic submersible to the Titanic, said Thursday that the entire crew, including its founder and CEO, who was the pilot on the mission, were lost at sea. The U.S. Coast Guard also announced Thursday that the rescue teams had found debris from the ship on the ocean floor, consistent with catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. The passengers were well known for devotion to extreme exploration, desire to collect artifacts from the Titanic, or their exorbitant wealth. Each paid $250,000 to ride on the submersible. The Coast Guard said families of the men have been notified about their deaths. These men were true explorers who showed a distinct spirit of adventure and deep passion for exploring and protecting the world's oceans. Our hearts are with these 5 souls and every member of their families during this tragic time, OceanGate said in a statement Thursday. Rear Admiral John Malger of the U.S. Coast Guard was said during a press conference Thursday he did not know whether the Coast Guard was be able to recover the bodies. This is an incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor, he said. For live updates on this disaster, read USA Today's live blog there. The passengers on the sub were OceanGate's CEO Stockton Rush. Stockton Rush, 61, founded OceanGate in 2009. He was also the co-founder of OceanGate Foundation, a non-profit organization which aims to catalyze emerging marine technology to further discoveries in marine science, history, and archaeology, according to the company's website. Rush said at a conference in Seattle last year, "One of the reasons I started the business was because I didn't understand why we were spending 1,000 times as much money to explore space as we do to explore the oceans. There is no private access to the deep ocean, and yet there's all this life to be discovered." At the same conference, he also said that submarine safety programs were over the top in their rules and regulations. For graduating from Princeton University with a degree in aerospace engineering in 1984 and obtaining a master's degree in business administration from the University of California in 1989, Rush obtained his captain's rating at the United Airlines Jet Training Institute. He went on to oversee business ventures that included serving on the board of Seattle's Blueview Technologies and chairman of Remote Control Technology. Greg Stone, the former executive vice president and chief scientist for Conservation International, as well as a friend of Rush, said there was a need for advances in research submersibles. That's the direction he was going in. I liked where he was going, Stone said. But he added, Rush is the problem that a lot of frontier people have, and as he was ahead of the regulations. Rush had familial ties to the Titanic, NPR reported. Stockton Rush was married to Wendy Rush, the great-granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who were on board the sinking Titanic ship together. Yeah, so apparently Rush's wife was a descendant of two of the victims of the Titanic. I'm not the victims, I mean 2 of the survivors on the Titanic, Yeah, exactly. She was a descendant of 2 survivors from the original Titanic in 1912. So Rush had familial ties to the Titanic, NPR reported. Stockton Rush was married to Wendy Rush, the great-granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who were on board the sinking Titanic ship together. The great-great-granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who were on board the sinking Titanic ship together. British billionaire explorer Hamish Harding. Hamish Harding, 58, was chairman of Action Aviation, a global sales company in business aviation. He held 3 Guinness World Records related to his explorations by plane and into the deep ocean. He had also been into space. He had been looking forward to his Titan ride. Due to the worst winter in Newfoundland in 40 years, this mission is likely to be the first and only manned mission to the Titanic into 2023. Due to the worst winter in Newfoundland in 40 years, this mission is likely to be the first and only manned mission to the Titanic in 2023, Harding wrote on a Facebook post Saturday, the day before the Titanic voltage, according to the New York Times. A weather window has just opened up, and we're going to attempt to dive tomorrow. We started serving from St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada yesterday, and we're planning to start our dive operations at around 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Until then, we have a lot of preparations and briefings to do. Richard Gary, a D. Coyotes, president of the Explorers Club, mourned the loss of his friends Harding and Paul Henry Narguillet on Twitter in a letter Thursday to fellow explorers. They were both drawn to explore. Like so many of us did so in the name of meaningful science for the betterment of mankind, he wrote. Their memories will be a blessing and will continue to inspire us in the name of exploration. French maritime and Titanic expert Paul Henry Narguillet. Paul Henry Narguillet, 73, is director of underwater research EM Group and RMS Titanic Incorporated. He successfully dived into submersible to the site of Titanic wreckage 37 times and survived the recovery of 5,000 artifacts, according to EM Group's website, which also says he's widely considered the leading authority on the wreck site. Born in Chalmers, France, PhD lived in Africa for 13 years with his family, and at 16 returned to France to complete his studies in Paris. He later joined the French Navy for a career that spanned 22 years and saw him rise in the ranks to commander, according to the company's site. I really hope they will find them all safe, his daughter Sidonie Narguillet said prior to Thursday's announcement. Dive expert David Mearns called Harding a terrific character and said Nargoliad was almost a legend really in the field of deep sea exploration, BBC reported. Shazda Dawood. Shazda Darwood, 48, was one of the richest men in Pakistan and served as vice chairman of the Pakistani Angro Corporation, a Pakistani conglomerate founded as a fertilizer company where he worked for 20 years. He was on the board of trustees for the Endowed Foundation, a education nonprofit, and on the board of the STTI Institute, a nonprofit research organization. Dawood has had over 2 decades of experience in corporate governance in the transportation industries, including growth and magnification of opportunities through mergers and acquisitions of diversified public-listed companies across textiles, fertilizers, foods, and energy. His profile in the World Economic Forum site reads: he aspires to a sustainable future and includes his business models involving low-income companies building value chains among business interests, the profile states. He is survived by his wife, Kristen Dawood, and his daughter, Alia Dawood. Solomon Dawood. Solomon Dawood, 19, loved science fiction, solving Rubik's Cubes, and playing volleyball, the New York Times reported. He was studying at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, according to the BBC. Shazda Dawood's older sister told NBC News that she was absolutely heartbroken over the deaths. I feel like I've been caught in a really bad film with the countdown, but you didn't know what you were counting down to, Azma Dawood said. I personally have found it kind of difficult to breathe thinking of them. She also said her nephew Solomon told one of their relatives he was terrified about the voyage. She told NBC News Solomon went on the trip with his dad because he wanted to make his dad happy and fell on the Father's Day weekend. I'm thinking of Solomon, who was 19 and in there just perhaps gasping for breath. It's been crippling, to be honest, she told the news outlet. He learned of friends, followers, and community of the STI Institute Thursday. CEO Bill Diamond shared the news of the deaths of Dawood and his son. Shazda was passionately curious and enthusiastic supporter of the STI Institute and our mission, being directly involved in the philanthropic programs in education, research, and public outreach, said Diamond. He'll be deeply missed by all who knew him, especially his fellow trustees and leadership of the STI Institute. See, those are the 2 articles talking about that. And let me see, So yeah, they were all confirmed dead, all 5 of them on that accident. I figured I'd share my thoughts about it. It's honestly a tragic situation, honestly. I mean, they could have all stayed home, they didn't have to go on this trip. It was pretty risky going to the Titanic going on the submarine, knowing that, knowing there was huge risks involved and knowing that what we know now about what happened. I mean, honestly, they shouldn't have gone. They could have stayed home, they didn't have to go on this trip. They should have stayed, honestly. They shouldn't have gone out onto this voyage, too risky, honestly, to cost them their lives ultimately. It's an awful situation all around, and I do sympathize with the families and the families of the victims and the victims, honestly, but I mean, I still this all could have been avoided, honestly. This is all unnecessary, honestly. Nor do I agree with the fact that people are celebrating this and actually celebrating the fact that rich people lost their lives, which is actually extremely dumb, because these people they may be rich, true, but they could have been the most compassionate people that we ever could have met. Now, I never met any of these people personally, but but I'm sure they were nice people to the people that actually knew them, and I don't think it's right to mock their deaths just because they were rich. Extremely petty on their part. But yeah, it's a tragic situation all around. Unfortunate situation for the 5 victims and their families, and I hope the government is looking into this currently. They're all looking into this. They're all like studying the situation, and I really hope the answers are ultimately brought to light here. The bodies may never be recovered, which is unfortunate, but it's all could have been avoided if they just hadn't gone on this trip. Extremely risky, honestly. Wait, those are just my thoughts. I'll take everybody. Another video for my drama channel. Rest in peace to the 5 victims.